Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Doggone. Think about this. Here's a brain teaser for you. How do you walk 3,000 miles across Mexico without food or support and show up at our border 100 pounds overweight and with a charged cell phone? Interesting. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, Patriots, want to hear from you. Good morning. And a good morning to you all. Wheels, if you could bump up the feed line just a little skosh, I'd appreciate that if you would. Zeb at the Ranch, and I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a great big fall tire sale going on right now. Save a lot of money and get the best and safe driving tires. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Oh, it's a beautiful place. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to our phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning, sir.
You demand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wheels, you're doing a good job on that. Appreciate it, buddy. And right now, let's go to the weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental. Oh, they get there early in the morning, turn the key in the lock, and say, come on, world, for the best of tools and equipment right there at K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them. And they offer absolutely the best tools and equipment for all the different things you need to get done, both long and short-term rentals. You better call them or stop in today. 678-3122 K&R Rental. And right now, I know who it is today. It's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this beautiful Tuesday, and honestly, it's not going to be too bad. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit breezy. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, and we could see gusts as high as 33 miles an hour. High of 72 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 47. That breeze is still going to continue out of the west. By Wednesday, sunny skies with a high of 71. By Wednesday night, mostly clear skies. Going to be cooling off to about 44 Thursday, sunny and 73. Maybe by Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the afternoon and a high of 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you very much. Always does a great job, and so do the folks at K&R Rental, Roger and the crew. They get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, and they've got all the tools you need. Now, don't forget, if you've got some projects putting in lawn sprinklers or water lines before the ground hardens up and freezes, you better get the tools to get the job done at K&R Rental. 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Yep. Number to call, 678-3122. Want to take just a moment here and remind you that Thursday is sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. The number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, the sale that works for you. Merv, May, Cade, Roggy, Lance, Udy, the whole crew, you better believe it. 11 o'clock starting time at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard. Thursday is sale day. Don't you miss it. Okay, I have a note that I need to get out to all the lunch bunchers or potential lunch bunchers, and this is really important to me. I would really appreciate it this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's if you would all come to the lunch bunch wearing either red, white, or blue. We are going to show our patriotism. We are going to be standing up proud for our flag and our country. And we're going to start some new things. And wearing red, white, and blue, I think, will be our trademark. So you've got a chance at a red shirt, blue shirt, white shirt, whatever. Come on. This Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant. Don't forget that. 611 North Overland in Burley. And that's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch for the best of eating anytime, all the time. The breakfast, lunch, dinner, all the desserts, and oh my, what wonderful service. They really take care of you at Denny's Restaurant, which is America's Diner. And they have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. Don't forget, Denny's Restaurant this Thursday for Lunch Bunch. And a lot of our gift certificate donors, we thank Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and Denny's. Don't miss it. Just prior to the news, my lovely bride makes the most delicious zucchini bread in the world. Now, am I prejudiced? Better believe it. And she gave me a great big slab of zucchini bread with all the walnuts and the different ingredients. And occasionally, like right now, if I cough, it's because I ate it so fast I'm choking to death. I apologize. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Oh, that's good. It's really good. We got a lot of things to talk about. We got a lot of great people on the program this morning, including Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance, and then we have Brigadier General Robert Spaulding coming on the program, United States Air Force retired, and at 10:06, Dr. History, and then at 10:32, Dr. Bruce Hartman, talking about how the left and the Democrats want us to sit down and confess. Oh, I'm so sorry for my contribution to climate change. Oh my gosh. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget our friends, excuse me, friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs are right there. Oh, my goodness. And if you want to have your order waiting for you on the counter, all you have to do is call them at 678-0459. They open at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday. They always provide warm winters and cool summers. They are the pros for almost 7 decades. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. Good morning, caller. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. And you know, I've been the recipient of some of that delicious zucchini bread that your wife prepares. It's the greatest.
You know, you ought to feel fortunate because in most cases, when she's going to give a loaf of zucchini bread to somebody, it doesn't get to the destination.
Some pig gets in the way.
Yeah, I don't know who that guy is, but I'll tell you what, he loves it. What can I do for you this morning?
Well, you know, Zeb, it's time for Joe Biden to put his shovel away.
Oh, brother.
Because he's dug his hole deep enough.
Are you referring...
He said... Go ahead.
No, are you referring to that interview with that Iowa newscaster?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead with yours, and then I'll tell you a little bit extra. Go ahead.
Well, he said, she said, and all these things, it's conclusive. It's on tape.
Yep.
He said these things.
Yep.
He is a doggone liar.
And the news media is complicit. The news media is complicit and trying to smooth over the bumps in the road. And quite frankly, I'm really, really concerned about a media that is so hell-bent on getting a Democrat in office. They will lie. They will stand shoulder to shoulder with lies and promote lies. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, there's the truth right before them, and they will deny it.
Yeah.
And I think it's terrible.
Well, I got to tell you what happened. If you didn't see this tape, watch the news, and hopefully they'll show it. But here is a female newscaster and journalist from a television station in Iowa, and she's interviewing Joe Biden. Now, Joe's standing there in front of the lights, and she's asking the questions off camera, and she basically asked him, okay, why should the American public vote for you? He couldn't come up with an answer.
Well, I wouldn't be able to either if I had his record.
Well, it was just like crickets. Honestly, it got really silent, and he looked like, and I'm not running him down, as a matter of fact, I felt kind of a pity for him. I felt pity for him because he just looked at her, and it had a vacant look in his eyes, like a little old man that absolutely couldn't recall how he should answer that question. I'm not making it up. You look it up, you listen to it, watch it, and I know that you'll call me back and concur that that's exactly what happened.
Well, I'm sure you're right, but, he gloated about that deal with Ukraine.
Yeah.
How he withheld, they weren't going to get a doggone dime unless they did it his way.
Well, and not only that, he demanded that a certain person be fired or the money would be held up, and then he used a couple of expletives and said, well, an hour later, the blankety blank was fired. All of this is on tape. All of this is provable, but yet it's overlooked, and somehow the media is transitioning the story about Biden and his protection of his son and his protection of his son's business interests and everything else, and they're turning it against Donald Trump. And you got to say, go figure, because it doesn't make any sense.
You know what I don't understand, and this is not the first incident. Every time they go for Donald Trump, it comes back 2- and 3-fold.
Oh, I know it.
It's just amazing. If this so-called whistleblower, we don't know even who it is, trying to make Trump look bad, it just added to the fire.
You got it.
Joe Biden.
You got it, buddy. Hey, I appreciate your call every morning. Thanks, Keith. God bless you. Have a great day. Thank you so much.
You do the same.
I will, sir. I want to talk more about what Keith brought up in just a moment and put it into kind of, common everyday language. So stand by just for a minute. Don't forget Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union. Hello, Dr. Bill and the crew are already there this morning over in Heyburn. And, of course, they're a mixed animal practice, meaning large or small. They take care of them all, whether you got cows or horses or itty-bitty kitty cats. And don't forget, it's past time almost. You better hurry up and get in there for your fall vaccinations. Absolutely. They want your pets to be healthy. They want your animals to be healthy, and they can help, and they will, at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Number 678-1177. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Get a hold of them today. Okay, here we go. Listen to this. Now, go along with me on this. Let's have a little fun. Okay, Martha and Betty are talking. Okay? Yappity, 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 yappity. Martha and Betty are talking. And Betty says that Mary's recipe at the county fair was not hers. Oh, no, she stole it. Ooh. So Martha calls the baking contest. Now remember, Martha and Betty were talking originally. So Martha calls the baking contest leaders and says Mary cheated and should be ruled a loser. It's the same scenario with the whistleblower against President Trump. The whistleblower got it secondhand hearsay. Oh, well, did you hear about this? Yeah, the blobbity, blobbity, blobbity. And then it was picked up by the news media, and this whistleblower is hailed as a real patriot for pointing the finger at President Trump for doing something wrong or saying something wrong when it was hearsay and not verifiable. Can you believe this? Now, here you have tapes, videotapes, and all the sound of Joe Biden talking about visiting with his son about business dealings and about how he held the money to the Ukrainian president until they fired a expletive. And then you have Hunter Biden himself, the son, saying, yeah, Dad and I talked about business on occasion. And the denials are there now from old Joe. And yet the media, they turn this all against Donald Trump. Now, if that's not a head-scratcher, or if I've missed a point of interest here, please call me, enlighten me, inform me. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. Oh, you got a septic tank that needs to be pumped out? Ooh, you do not want to do that. You don't want to be standing out there doing that. You don't want to take the time. You don't want to stand there with a set of clippers over your nose. So you better call Dino's Septic Service. That's right, Dino's Septic Service. Septic tank pumping, liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, backhoe services, all of this and so much more serving you. Fast, fair, friendly service. The number to call, 436-6526 or 678-1638. You get a hold of them today with that big truck they've got called Smells Cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Really, really good people. All right, your turn. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. A 16-year-old girl stands up at the podium at the United Nations and delivers a speech condemning us. Yeah. A 16-year-old, very well-rehearsed actress by the name of Greta Thunberg of Sweden told the UN and all of us that we have stolen her childhood. Oh, I feel so bad. And people are dying and suffering because of climate change. Okay, stop. Turn the theater lights off. Tell me the people that are dying. Tell me the people that are suffering. And how in the world can she look out into the cameras and say that we have stolen her childhood? This is what the left is perpetrating right now. They're getting close to the 11th hour for the 2020 elections, and they're going to pull out all the corks. Hook, line, and sinker to buy into their moronic climate change. Now, the claims we're all going to die in 12 years and dire times, we're all going to burn up. Really, I want you to call me right now on the radio. I don't care if you're driving down the interstate or if you're sitting at your office or if you're having a cup of coffee at home at your kitchen table. Honestly, give me an appraisal. Have you seen or lived through anything so devastating that we're all burning up? My goodness, we're calling for even snow next week, possibly here in the Magic Valley. We are right in accordance with the climatical changes that occur from summer to fall to winter to spring. And yet these morons come out and say, we're all going to burn up. And they get these kids involved. A 16-year-old that had this speech, and I give her credit for one thing. It was extremely well delivered in a very theatrical tone. And people are buying into this. Oh, did you hear about that 16-year-old girl standing up there at the United Nations and we stole her childhood? No, we didn't. If you want the honest truth, and I hope the Jimmy Joneses of Eden and other places are listening, fossil fuels have helped the environment and better served more people around the globe to live better and cleaner and more fruitful and prosperous lives. That's a fact. That is absolutely a fact and can be proven. And the absolute simpleton activists that, like yesterday, these activists that shut down the city of New York. I mean, they shut it down. People could not get to work. Emergency service vehicles could not get to people that had heart attacks. Elderly that were in need that had fallen. Any accident. They didn't know how they were going to get there. Because these activists, these pathetic activists, had chained themselves to trees and across the streets. They had chained themselves to vehicles. They had chained themselves to fire hydrants. They chained themselves so that it was absolute. The police had to go in with wire cutters and chain cutters. This has got to stop. You know, here's somebody that's trying to make a living, and they're trying to get to their job, and all of a sudden you run into this mess of humanity, and well, you're not going to work today, okay? You're going to absorb that loss, the possibility of being fired. You're not going to go to work today? Are you kidding me? What are your thoughts on this, for crying out loud, people? You must have an opinion as to where we're going down a very slippery slope that ends up in a cesspool. Call me. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, I also want to remind you, it's really good people over at Patterson's Electronics in Burley. My goodness. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they have all your electronic needs. I mean, like you're looking for a home theater system to just get home, close the door, and just sit back and enjoy. And they've got all the video surveillance cameras to make sure that your property is protected, and you are too. And all the car stereos and speakers and complete sound systems. And oh, by the way, all the TVs from Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Great selection at Patterson's, 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena and the rest of the staff, as I said, they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. Telephone number to call, 678-6997, Patterson's in Burley. Really nice people. Excuse me. Your turn. Calls welcome. You know, it's amazing to me as to when we get to subjects like this that are so absolutely critical as to what's happening in this world and how we're being duped into thinking that we are at fault or we live in a tragic, scary time. No, we don't. No, we don't. The activists that were in New York City yesterday created and left so much garbage. I think I heard this morning early at 4 o'clock, over 50 tons, pardon me for coughing, over 50 tons of garbage had to be picked up. They left laying all over the ground. And they called themselves environmental activists? Please. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Sir, there's two ways to accomplish something. One is you accomplish it by getting people on your side and not offending them. I mean, if you want people to back your agenda or whatever you're pushing, you do nice things. You don't do things to make them mad. That's one way to upset the public. What they're trying to do is block them from going to work.
Doug, if it were your parents or your wife that all of a sudden on the way to work developed a serious health problem, a heart attack, whatever it might be, and they had to pull off to the side of the road and they had a call to 911 for help, and 911 says, "We can't get there." How would you react?
Isn't that what happened? I would be mad. I would be just livid. But isn't that what happened? What was it when All Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter?
Absolutely.
They blocked the highway.
Yep.
Didn't someone die because an ambulance couldn't get through to get him to the hospital?
And my point was that day, and you and I talked about that on the radio the day after that occurred. And my point, and I took a lot of heat. I got a lot of emails saying I was inhumane and everything else from my comment. But if it was your wife or your parents, your child, or whatever, and you were trying to rush them to a hospital emergency room, and these activists were in the way, let me just say there would be a scattering like Moses parting the water.
All lives splatter, right?
You got it.
Well, very true. I mean, you would hate to think that it would come to that. But I'll guarantee you, I will pick my family over some protester trying to block the street.
Well, how in the world can you justify? How can you justify creating havoc and chaos by people losing money at their business, people possibly maybe even were fired because they couldn't get to work or do their job, service people couldn't deliver food, restaurants didn't have their daily deliveries, people with health problems had to just sit there and hope and pray that they were going to get assistance, all of this because of these greasy-haired, no good, not working activists? Are you kidding me?
That's right. Yep, I agree with you 100%. Hey, I got to call you back. I got a customer walked in, and he's got big pockets full of money.
Oh, pass some over to me. Okay. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Honestly, I remember the conversation Doug and I had, and after that was over the next day, I started getting all these hate mails about, oh, how could you be so inhumane? Wait a minute. I put it to you. What would you do? Honestly, are you going to sit there and just drive up on that street and all of a sudden somebody says you got to turn around and there's no way you can get to where you're going? There is a time and a place to make sure that you are prevailing. This is one of those times. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Who said that Joe Biden didn't tell the truth? You know, he said,
you did.
We're going to put you all back in chains, and that's exactly what they did in New York yesterday.
Oh, my gosh.
In chains.
Yeah. You know, you're always kind of a soft-spoken individual, and you don't want to make any waves or anything. But let's just assume that it was a member of your family that had to hurry and get emergency treatment. And you're in a car, and they're stopping everybody, saying, well, you can't go there because we're having an activist gathering protesting all the climate change. Are you going to turn around and just go back home?
No, I'm going to do everything I can to get them to where they need to be. You know, and if somebody gets hurt along the way, I guess that's just too bad.
Oh, my goodness, coming from mild-mannered Clark Kent. I'm surprised.
No, it's a shame that we have to put up with such nonsense as that New York deal. You know, stopping New York from operating, period.
Yeah.
These people are powerful. Better pay attention.
You know, the problem is across the United States, in flyover America, Idaho, or whether it's Indiana, or whether it's Nebraska, whatever, Thank the good Lord above, we haven't been subjected to this idiocy, whether it's in Twin Falls, Boise, Idaho Falls, Burley, or whatever. But, I got to be honest with you. My family, my wife, everything comes first to me. And if they're in the way, I've used the old adage on this program many times, I will not step around or drive around. Look out, I'm coming through.
I'll guarantee you one thing, Deb. If anyone ever touches my wife in an inappropriate way, they're going down.
Well, I appreciate that, and I respect that. It's just that we cannot allow evil and chaos to reign in this country. I don't care if it's Antifa. I don't care if it's Black Lives Matter. I don't care if it's these climate change morons. They have got to be put in a place. They want to protest, that's fine. But you don't stop civilization from having the wheels turn and people go to their work, kids go to their schools, etc. I draw the line there.
Well, you're absolutely right, and I enjoy your program, and I'm going to tell you goodbye.
All right, my friend. Take care. Thank you very much. I'd like to hear from some ladies on this subject. Give me a call. Let me know what your thoughts are. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. On a related subject, the Democrats are just absolutely wild about changing your dietary habits. I honestly believe the Democrats, like wild-haired Bernie and Pocahontas and sleazy Kamala Harris, I don't like that woman. There's something about her demeanor that just says, go away. They all want to control our food, what we eat, and they want to control our free society. They are really coming out against our eating of beef, and certain things in our diet they want to change and control. And then I noticed another letter to our illustrious rag, the Times News, this morning, written by a lady by the name of Sue Peterson up in Haley that rails about, eat less beef, it's good for the planet. Oh, my goodness. And she spent quite a bit of time talking in her letter about the expelling into the air of cow farts. And you just got to wonder about these people. I mean, honestly, I'm worried about how the traction is gaining ground by these activists and these kooks, absolute kooks. And they're saying, she said in this letter this morning, pound for pound, methane has 25 times the environmental impact of carbon dioxide over a 100-year period. Really, Sue, you've done a lot of study. Because they are ruminants, they can burp and fart. Cattle, sheep, and goats emitted 170 million metric tons of methane in 2016 in the United States. Oh, no. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
No, I would rather take the methane gas than the BS that's coming out of Washington, D.C.
At first, and think about this, and I'm right. At first, about 2 years ago, when we had the story about cows burping and letting the burp go out the wrong end, you and I were talking about this, and we kind of laughed about it and thought, oh, well, this will go away. But now they're using it up on the flagpole as one of their mantras that they're going to stand behind, and they really are playing on to this methane gas and playing on to how we got to get rid of all the cattle, playing on to the point where we can't eat a steak. Did you notice in the paper 3 months ago, Doug, my dear friend, there was a cartoon put in there? And here, I saved it. Here it is. It shows a guy sitting down in a restaurant eating a steak. And here's what it says. In 2023, Chad Williams was the only one with the courage to eat a steak in California. And in the background, there are people protesting him saying, you're killing the future of our precious kids.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, I didn't see that, but it's ridiculous. And they're hypocrites. They are the biggest hypocrites because I've seen all over pictures of the Democrat 1100 steak fry.
Is that your phone?
Yeah, just a second.
Oh, Doug, a man of many telephones. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah, anyway, they had that big steak fry, and Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and everybody was out there. I wonder if AOC got real upset because of all that pollution they was putting into the air off the grill.
Well, I got to tell you, did you hear what AOC did here recently? Did you hear about her and the fracking? No, I got to tell you this story. Bear with me, old buddy. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was visiting a supposed fracking site in Colorado, and she claimed that she was there investigating the releasing of toxic emissions. And she went to this one site, and she absolutely was appalled because it was releasing toxic emissions into the air and the atmosphere. But they found out afterwards that, of course, this was not an active fracking site. And what was being expelled into the air was actually air, heat signatures, not emissions from the various holes in the ground. And so this woman, AOC, which has been known many, many times to put her big foot in her extra large mouth, that it was not even a fracking site that was operating at that particular time or place. But yet the news media plays up that she saw and found where emissions were going into the atmosphere. It was a lie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. AOC, there's a lot of little pictures out there with some jokes on it, and there's one of them I seen about her that I just love it. AOC says, I hope I never get pregnant with twins because I don't want to be pregnant for 18 months.
If that is true, and you can verify that statement, I'm going to hang that one up on the wall and just absolutely always in the morning look up to the AOC Shrine of Stupidity. Right.
And your little story there about the fracking deal reminded me, I went to my uncle's funeral, and he was Catholic, and the father up there was doing the deal, and he was explaining things to the people there that weren't Catholic about their ritual and why they did it. And he related a story where they light the incense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he said one incident, the incense didn't light, but we went through with the ceremony, and he says, and lo and behold, there was about 3 or 4 people in the back of the church started coughing.
You got to be kidding me. So it was a reaction to something that didn't happen.
Exactly.
Oh my.
Story about AOC that brought that back. And
Isn't that true with our politics today and the Biden deal with the Ukraine and President Trump? It's a reaction to something that didn't happen.
Exactly. I mean, the Democrats, they need to take that advice when you're digging a hole and you're going deeper and deeper. The only way to get out of trouble is stop.
Somebody tore off the last page of the instruction manual, and they didn't read it. I got to run. Thanks, buddy.
I'll tell you, but they're fun to watch. I mean, they're dangerous.
Oh, boy.
And this election coming up in 2020 is going to have 2 sides to it. One, to keep America the way it is and try to bring it back to a strong nation and a good nation, or go to socialism.
I couldn't agree more. And if the American public can't see that and understand that, then I'll just be very blunt. We deserve what we get.
Yeah. And if you don't like this flag and you don't like this country, go to a country where there's a flag and their policies you like.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And real quick, seniors?
Yes. Let's take care of our seniors, the sinners. Help support them when you can. Go eat there. That helps them get more revenue. And you'll be blessed. I'll tell you what, you sit down with a senior and have lunch, you'll walk away just heartfelt.
All right. Hey, don't forget red, white, or blue Thursday at Lunch Bunch, please. We're going to be really patriotic.
Is there going to be a contest?
Nope.
Oh.
I just want people to start showing up more patriotic.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks.
God bless.
Don't forget our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aid. And, of course, they really care about your hearing health. Absolutely. And I urge you, on behalf of how they help me, to please call them at 312-0957 for a hearing screening to see what the problems are and get them corrected. Absolutely. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and the number to call, 312, you almost got me, 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this beautiful Tuesday, and honestly, it's not going to be too bad. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit breezy. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, and we could see gusts as high as 33 miles an hour. High of 72 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 47. That breeze is still going to continue out of the west. By Wednesday, sunny skies with a high of 71. By Wednesday night, mostly clear skies. Going to be cooling off to about 44 Thursday, sunny and 73. Maybe by Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the afternoon and a high of 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. And really, really want to urge people that are noticing any diminishment in their hearing, don't put it off. Call these wonderful people at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They can help you. Right behind the Minidoka Hospital. The number to call, 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb. There's one good reason to have the United Nations in America. And that's because Donald Trump can go in and chew their living behinds. And I was just in the house listening to it for a while. And that speech alone, if people were to hear it and they were freedom-loving people and understood something, would reelect him in nothing flat. Because when Donald Trump speaks, the world shudders. Unless you love freedom.
For all the people that are of liberal persuasion in politics and leaning left towards socialism, Donald Trump makes them really sweat. And they are the best thing that ever happened to Right Guard deodorant sales.
Well, I tell you what, man, it's something what he's, tonight I know you'll listen.
Yep.
But I tell you what, everything that you and I would say to the United Nations, he is saying. I mean, think about how refreshing it is that somebody actually says what's on a good, patriotic, God-fearing American's mind. I tell you what, thank God for Donald Trump.
There you go, buddy. I appreciate that, and I really thank you for all your calls, Randy. Thank you very much. I wished I could have heard all that this morning at the United Nations with President Trump, but I will get a complete recap later on this afternoon. You can be assured of that. Calls are welcome, and I really appreciate it. I want to talk to you quickly in just a moment about sports and how the left and the Democrats are downplaying our young men getting involved in sports. I could not believe this story when I heard this yesterday. They are actually saying and putting out that we should quit sports and quit watching sports and the promotion of sports because it makes us too competitive, and they say it makes too much male masculinity. Really? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Like your last caller said, it's refreshing to hear our elected leader works for us say how it's on his mind and the way it is.
Yep.
that's part of the reason how come I doubt I could do any good in politics, and the reason why I never really tried to is because I say what's on my mind, whether it may be politically correct or incorrect. It's the truth, and that's the way it comes out. Some people just don't like to hear it.
You know, it's funny you should say that, Riley, because I'm always having certain people that have never done anything, never been anywhere, never accomplished anything, and those are the first people to call me or send me an email criticizing me. I'm going to be blunt. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to give you an opinion. I'm always going to tell the truth on this program, and if you don't like it, go listen to, maybe records of Barry Manilow or something.
But to see the shock and the look in their eyes when you come right out, and whatever it may be, and you tell them this is the way it's going to be, like the lady who told that idiot who's running for Democratic president, to hell, you ain't taking my AR-15 from me.
That's right.
You ain't going to do it. Ain't going to happen. That's the kind of people that's going to make this place great, and that's what makes it great. I'm going to let you go.
I couldn't agree more, Riley. Thank you very much. That little lady, she was very diminutive, probably about, I think, 5'3", 5'4", couldn't weigh hardly 100 pounds, a little brunette. And when she had that microphone and she looked right up at Beto O'Rourke and said, no, with the expletive before it, no, you're not going to take my gun. And you could just see in her eyes that it would be very wise of the left and the Democrats to leave her alone. Don't forget our friends at Barry Equipment and Rental. The very best of sales, service, and parts. And they've got 3 locations for all the people that need to get the equipment that's going to be doing the lifting and the digging and the pushing and the carrying and the grading and the leveling. Oh, my, they've got it all. All the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators and all the Bobcats, all the sizes and everything. They've got all the equipment for you to get the job done. Plain and simple. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. And the greatest of leasing programs, financing programs, if you're buying, I'm telling you better get a hold of them today. Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Oh, my. Let's see. Yeah, no kidding. The left is saying that we've got to stop or at least hinder our young men from being involved in sports, watching sports, etc. The left is really trying to feminize males in this country. And it's sickening. Men be men. Watch all the doggone football games you want to. I mean, go out and eat a great big steak or a burger. Be men. Be polite. Open the door for ladies. But be men. This wussiness, this absolute pathetic wussiness that we're seeing today has got to stop. Okay? Don't forget, to our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Hey, listen to this. They're having a big fall tire sale right now, where if you go in and get a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires, like the Backcountry All-Terrain or the Backcountry MT or whatever, you can save up to $152. Holy smokes, on a big fall tire sale. Doing the right thing since 1952. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with the best in brake service. Front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and so much more. But service always reigns supreme. They really take care of you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland and Burley. Yep, the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Lady that I've watched on television for a long time, and she is very direct, and she is very forthright and honest. I managed to go through some channels thanks to the help of my lovely bride, and tomorrow on the program at 9:30, we are going to have Judge Janine Pirro from Fox News. Now, if you've ever watched her on television and listened to her, she is not going to take bunk from anyone. And I cannot wait to have her get on the air tomorrow and talk about what's going on in the Democratic Party with the push to the left, the far left, what's happening with Biden, just basically what's happening all around us in the political atmosphere of this country. And we're going to be discussing her brand new book, too. So that's at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Very, very honored to have Judge Janine Pirro coming on our program. And should be a lot of fun. Next hour, I'm telling you, we got some home run hitters. We're going to talk to Dan Kish about the ridiculousness of what's going on with these environmental activists. And then at 9:30, we've got Brigadier General Robert Spalding coming on the program talking about Iran and China. And then at 10 o'clock, of course, it's Dr. History time. And at 10:30 this morning, Dr. Bruce Hartman. We have got a whole schedule of great people coming up. Don't forget Lunch Bunch at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, on Thursday at 11:30. We'll be there. We hope you are, too. Wheels, take it away. Good morning. Welcome back. As I just had about 4 or 5 minutes to visit with my lovely bride during the news break. Good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a big fall tire sale going on right now. Stop in. And don't forget some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, don't forget Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living, beautiful place at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, my old compadre over at the station's got this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, my goodness sakes, they do the job for you, getting rid of your garbage. You're new to the area. You don't know who to turn to get rid of all the garbage. Well, just calm down. Calm down. Call them at 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Let them get you on the route service. Come by once a week, pick up your garbage. You can stand there on the porch and go, goodbye, garbage. Yes, sirree, they do the job for you. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. 734-6969. Don't forget Lunch Bunch this Thursday at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. And, of course, we're going to be all wearing red, white, and blue. Please be there at 11:30. Hey, by the way, Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you. Serving you. When there's the passing of a loved one, and believe me, everything is up in the air, you don't know what needs to be done, you don't know how to take care of everything, please stop. Call them at 436-5636. They always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to call 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family over at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. I really mean what I'm about to say, because this man is so important to this program with his knowledge on energy and gas and what's happening or not happening. And I'm very blessed to have him on my program. And I say good morning with the American Energy Alliance, my dear friend Dan Kish. How are you, Dan?
Good morning, Zeb. I'm doing well. Hope you are, too.
I am, but I say that with reservations, because the last couple of days, and I want you to elaborate on this, the last couple of days I am very concerned that the American public, and for that matter the world public, is being subjected to a far-left move to bring children like this 16-year-old Greta Thunberg of Sweden to the United Nations with a very well-rehearsed speech in criticizing you and I and accusing us of stealing her childhood. I am upset.
Yeah, well, I was thinking you had a commercial running for Western Way services, and I was thinking, we could have used them yesterday here in Washington, D.C., because we had a lot of waste in the streets with all those people protesting and trying to block traffic and chaining themselves to sailboats in the middle of it was just a mess. I mean, and you've never seen such a bunch of freaks in your life, Zeb. Men that look like women, dancing around and prancing around and all kinds of crazy groups, and capitalism kills the environment. Go tell that to Venezuela. It's just a freak show. I mean, this is just the modern left hiding behind the environment because they think it'll break the economy. And they're right, it will. I mean, their plans, the Green New Deal and all the rest of that stuff, and all these attempts to try to scare children. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, Greta Thunberg's parents ought to be hauled up before a court for child abuse. Putting your child through that, telling them that, it's like telling your child that the boogeyman's going to get them when you put them down to bed. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen such cynical politics in my life. It's crooked. It's wrong. And, frankly, they ought to be called out on it.
Dan, I watched this yesterday, all the different news clips, and this morning got up, and my wife, God bless her, we pulled numerous stories over this. And I'm going to try to break this down and get your response. And I said earlier this morning, and I will not back up and apologize for what I said. I know that these people that were chaining themselves to fire hydrants and chaining themselves to trees and chaining themselves to vehicles to block people from getting to work and causing havoc and chaos, I said that if someone, and there were many cases of where emergency service vehicles could not get through, and I said if it were me trying to save my wife's life or any member of my family, believe me, I'd be Moses parting the water.
Well, I tell you, I think a lot of people felt that way. And, people forget. There's a lot of big shot, high dollar people here in Washington, D.C., but there's also a whole lot of working people. They keep they keep things running. And blocking a single mother from being able to take her kids to school when she's got to be at work on time is just terrible. And this is what they do because these people don't work, Zeb.
Yeah.
They got jobs working for, some George Soros phony group that he propped up with his billions of dollars, and their whole thing is going around breaking windows. That's basically what they do. Most kids grow out of that. These are adults, and they are. And by the way, this was not a kids thing yesterday here in Washington, D.C. These were adults. Some of these guys were around protesting the Vietnam War back in the 60s and looked like it. They're college professors and things like that. So make no mistake about it. There were some children around to throw out in front of the cameras, but most of the people there were well into their adult life.
Yeah. We have a caller with a quick question and comment, Dan. And caller, you're on the air. Please, quickly, go ahead.
Well, if you were a child and you understood that your parent was going along with this, whether or not they were, just a useful idiot or they were informed and knew better, and you understood as you grew up that none of this ever will happen, and you will be resentful, and, what kind of a parent would allow their children, the things that have been said is in, fear. Fear and guilt is not a good parent's tools. It's a joke, and it's so frustrating. And you'd like to think somehow that the parents across this nation are wising up here and there, at least you hope. Because I tell you what, these children that are coming up, I don't know if they're capable of anything. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Dan.
Well, I think your caller is absolutely right, Zeb. I mean, again, this is child abuse. You don't do this to children. You protect children. You tell them the facts of life when it comes to hard work and doing things and their obligations and things like that. But you try to promise them a promising future. You don't make up things, fill their heads with the idea that they're going to die. And some of these kids, they really believe it. I mean, I'm convinced that Greta Thunberg believes this stuff. Now, she's good in front of a camera, and she could have won an Emmy for her performance yesterday.
Yes.
Stern dressing down of adults. I mean, I was raised better than that. But maybe parenting is different in Sweden. But at the end of the day, to scare children, to tell them that something's under the bed when they go to sleep at night and it's going to kill them. I mean, what parent would do that? Yet they do it. They do this, and the teachers in these schools do it, even though they know nothing about the science or nothing about the facts. And the politicians just egg them on in order to get more power for themselves, because it's really about power. It's really about, give us your money, give us your way of life. We'll tell you how to live. We'll tell you what to drive. We'll tell you what you can do and what you can't do. And that's always been, that's always been the motivating force behind authoritarian political structures anyway, and this is just a great excuse for them. They see it as the best thing that ever came along. But I think people are actually, I think parents may have gotten a wake-up call with some of these. You can't sit there and watch a young child cry about how they're going to die and realize that, wow, something's wrong here. These people are being taught wrong.
Yeah. On this program, when someone says something in their responses or their phrases, and there's some key words that I think need to be questioned, I always interrupt them. It may sound rude, but I'm going to interrupt them, and I'm going to ask them to explain why they use those certain phrases. In the speech yesterday, where she kept going on about how we have stolen her childhood, and people are dying and suffering because of what we have done, I would have interrupted her and said, now, please, when you make an allegation like that, young lady, how are you going to back it up? Nobody did, and it was just an assertion that went unchallenged, and I found that to be repulsive. What are your thoughts?
Well, frankly, the media and the rest of them nowadays don't question anybody that follows their agenda. There's no follow-up questions. It's almost funny listening to them. They're leading questions, if nothing else. Oh, well, does this mean that if we don't do anything, hundreds of millions more people will die? Rather than getting at the point that we're living on the earth during the most prosperous time in human history. People are living longer. People's lives are better. Fewer people are starving. I mean, we have a long way to go. We have billions of people that don't have electricity around the world, and whose lives could be made better by providing that. The Green New Deal isn't going to do that. The sorts of back to nature approaches when you've got 7.5 billion people on Earth are not going to work to do that, Zeb. Feeding those people and making sure that agriculture is going to do that, and it's going to be mechanized, and it's going to be fertilized, and it's going to be irrigated, and all of the rest of the things that are necessary, all of which take tremendous amounts of power, and thank God for putting it under our feet here in North America.
Dan, let me ask you this. We got a little feedback there on the line, Wheels, if you would. When you look at this situation over the last couple of days with what are purported to be millions of people taking the streets against climate change, et cetera, What are you thinking? I mean, are we losing in common sense to the point where we can't win this battle and we're going to see the greenies take over and make us basically all go back to living in caves? What are your thoughts? Are we losing, winning, at a standoff? What's happening?
Well, Zeb, I guess I've seen this on a number of different fronts over the years, and it does seem like we're losing. But you have to remember, I mean, the press points a camera where it wants to and tells the story that it wants to, especially big media, big city media. So a lot of these people grow up. They all of a sudden have obligations. They all of a sudden start paying taxes and having to, heat their homes and keep a roof over themselves and things like that. And they recognize that some of the things that they thought were so wise when they were younger were actually not so wise. And so I always hope for that. But I will tell you, it does spook me that many of the public schools are filling kids' heads with this, largely because it's simple science and lazy. A teacher can get up there and say, "Oh, gee, you put this in there, it makes the atmosphere hotter. It's going to get hot, and all the ice is going to melt, and the seas are going to rise, and we're all going to die." And without teaching them the history of geology or what's happened on Earth, and I mean, the Earth has been through a whole lot of stuff, and the good Lord has moved things around and shifted it and done all kinds of things, and that's why we find oil on the north slope of Alaska and 200 miles out into the Gulf of Mexico. That's just the way it is, and I do fault a lot of folks who are trying to fill young people's heads with this because, young people are impressionable. They'll believe anything.
Yeah. We have another caller with a question and a comment. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, I know I'm calling back, but quickly. These people want to change the way that the American farmer, the rancher, the dairyman does his business. The most efficient industry on the earth is the American agricultural man. And they will send us into a starvation. I'm telling you, they want to tax the hell out of people who raise beef. Can you imagine what it would do to the dairy and the cattle industry? And what? It's insanity. I'll hang up.
Well, it's not only just that industry alone per se, Dan, and you know this, it's all the other related industries, the feed industries, the equipment industries. All of these industries would go belly up and you'd be looking at mass bankruptcies. These people on the left have no concept of reality.
Well, in truth, not just bankruptcies, but because everybody, all these people who live high off the hog in these big cities and are such environmentalists and choose to live in the most unnatural environment on earth, a modern city where everything's pavement or stone or steel or glass, these people, in the absence of folks out there in the real world providing them with the food, the water, the fuel, everything else that's necessary to make their lives comfortable so they can spend $5 on a cup of coffee, which ought to tell you how smart they are in reality. The truth of the matter is they would die. It's not just a matter of bankruptcies. These people would die because there's a long logistical chain all made possible by affordable energy that brings these things to these people. They look down their snout at the people that do it, and meanwhile, they live high off the hog on the basis of other people's hard work, blood, sweat, and tears.
There's no question everything you said is correct, and everything that you've said I absolutely and totally agree with. I want you to take the last 2 or 3 minutes here this morning and talk about the president. Trump has got his, let's say he's got holes in his screen door. We all do. He's got his personality problems. We all do. But if it were not for this president standing up for what I think is right and for the value of this country, I hate and I shudder to think where we would be today with someone else. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I agree with you, Zeb. I mean, never in my life would I have thought that some guy from Manhattan who's a businessman, sort of a loudmouth businessman from Manhattan, would and a celebrity to boot, would somehow understand in his gut these issues. And the fact of the matter is he does. He gets it. He understands what makes the world go round. And he understands that deep down inside, Americans want a better place for their kids to live. They don't want to have their kids live in fear. And in the absence of him, if we'd have had another person in there, I can tell you, and frankly, a whole lot of Republicans would have yielded to the pressure. He just will not yield. Mm-hmm. The guy doesn't give up. I mean, he will not throw in the towel on a fight. And by golly, when you've got all these forces aligned at you, big media, the UN, all these countries that want to pick our pocket and take our, take Americans' lifestyle away from them, all jumping up and down and holding their breath till they turn blue about how they want him to yield and stop and all the rest, and he just stands firm and says, no, we're the greatest energy-producing country on earth, and I want this country to be greater, and we're going to produce more.
Dan, final thought. On this program, I'm willing to stand up and take the heat and really punch, if you will, the idiocy on the left. But what more can we be doing? I mean, you're involved in this every day. What more can we be doing to get our point across? Because I don't want to lose.
Right. Zeb, I think the most important thing is, I mean, honestly, your radio station and what you do and talking to your neighbors and talking to friends and talking to folks at church and, at auction houses and stockyards and you name it, is extremely important, but it's also important to hold your politicians accountable. I mean, they will slide on you because they don't have the backbone that Trump has. Few of them do. Few people do. The guy's he's got a ramrod for a backbone, and so watching and making sure they don't start talking in this squishy language that gives rise to the belief that somehow they're going to fold on these things is very, very important. So I'd urge that.
All right. Dan, I can't tell you how much your segment means to my program and me personally. You're a man of great knowledge on energy, and I appreciate your being here. On behalf of the American Energy Alliance, Dan Kish, God bless you, my dear friend. Have a wonderful week.
God bless you, Zeb, and your audience.
Thank you, sir. Look forward to next week. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Kish, he's been a friend of this show for a long, long time, and we appreciate him with, like I said a moment ago, the American Energy Alliance. I want to remind you, yes, I was over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation yesterday. Yes, I took all the treatments. Yes, I know it helps, and it's working. If you're aching and paining or recuperating from a surgery or an accident, I really do urge you to pick up the phone and make an appointment with them today. 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists absolutely are A++. They really know their business, and they can and will help you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. Also, we had a guest yesterday in our home yesterday afternoon. It was Jeff from Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, he is helpful. Oh, he knows his business. And he wants you to come on in to 459 Overland and Burley and just enjoy all the beautiful new furniture at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. All the carpeting, special prices on floor coverings, 30% off on all the window coverings. I mean, it's all there. It's all there for you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. And you know what else? The staff. The staff there, they really know, and they can help you. So please, don't put it off. Stop in today. 459 Overland in Burley. Yep, really nice people. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. You stop in and see them today. One other quick note that I want to remind you of, fall of the year. And I'll tell you what, there is no place on God's earth that is prettier and more enjoyable than getting away from your home and just taking a ride up in the hills or whatever on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side from Let's Ride. I mean, get lost and have a good time doing it. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between the Rupert and the World, serving you. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And believe me, they've got some super buys for you right now on the 2019 models, because the 2020 models are coming in. You can save money. Don't forget the best of accessories and a super service department to keep you running. All of this at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And it is true, this is where the fun is sold. Stop over and see them today. A couple of weeks ago, I guess maybe it's been longer than that, I had this gentleman on my program, and I absolutely was hanging on his every word. He's very, very knowledgeable about what's going on in the world, or what should go on in the world. He is a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute, focusing on U.S.-China relations, economic and national security, and he has a book called Stealth War, How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. And I say a very good morning to Brigadier General Robert S. Spaulding, United States Air Force, retired. Whew, I got to be honest with you, General, after all that, I'm tired. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. General, to start things off this morning on our program, I, as a father and a grandfather, I am very, very worried about what I hear in the background as a ticking clock. I hope it's a ticking clock and not a bomb, with the situation in Iran. Bring us up to speed as to what you think is happening or might happen.
Well, clearly the Iranians are saying that if they can't sell oil, then nobody else can sell oil. So they're essentially retaliating for the sanctions. I think as far as the United States is concerned, one of the things that's a really big change over the last few decades is our incredible use of domestic energy. So we're pumping almost 20 million barrels per day. So we have a real opportunity here to become a shock absorber for the global energy markets, and it requires us to put a little bit more into petroleum, refinery, and also natural gas to liquid, and we haven't done that for decades. So I think that's one of the issues that we need to be looking at as a country strategically. Now, on the more focused with Iran part, we actually need to respond to them in a way that lets them know that there will be costs. Now, that can be sanctions, that can be military, and if it is military, then I would focus on the IRGC. They're not only the ones that are causing havoc in the region, they're also the ones that oppress the Iranian people. So there's a lot of options we have tactically, but I think we need to start thinking strategically about global energy markets and how the U.S. energy industry can play a role in that.
General, let me ask you this. The attitude that seems to come out of Iran kind of exudes out of the door is that they don't care if they get in a war. They almost seem like they're pushing and promoting a conflict. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's actually a bluster on the part of the Iranian leaders. They do this all the time. Clearly, they didn't do very good against the Iraqis, and you know how well the American forces did against the Iraqis. So I think it's more bluster, and certainly one of the things they fear the most is conflict with the United States. Although I don't think it really makes a lot of sense for us to continue to expend billions of dollars in the Middle East, particularly when we have a domestic energy market that's really the reason we went there and spent so much money is because we were beholden to Iranian and Saudi oil. That's no longer the case.
You know, I have a feeling, and I'm not nearly as versed on that situation or that area of the world as you are, never will be. But I have a feeling in the back of my mind that while all these talks of war and the hammering of the drums, etc., is going on, there's another country that's sitting back with a big smile on their face, welcoming possibly any conflict, and that's China. How wrong am I on that statement?
No, you're not wrong at all. They do billions of dollars in business with the Iranians, the Russians, the North Koreans. They are the eye of the storm, if you will, for all the challenges, military challenges that we've had over the last 20 or 30 years. And quite frankly, they revel in it because it takes the focus off them, but at the same time, it keeps the United States pinned down, spending billions of dollars on defense. So in a lot of ways, strategically, they've put the United States in the position that we had put the Soviet Union in during the Cold War. So the Chinese game is essentially for us to bankrupt ourselves, spending money facing all of these challenges in Europe, in the Middle East, and in Asia.
My engineer over at the station, while the General's speaking, please turn him up just a little bit more if you would, please. General, what about our allies? People on the left today, the left liberal news media and everything is complaining that Trump has chased away all of our allies and we're always going to be in any conflict all by ourselves. You, of anyone, would know really about the value of our allies. Are they there and are they behind us?
Well, the problem with our allies right now, quite frankly, is that their motives are split between the United States and China. And really, for the United States, they value the security relationship. For China, they value the economic and financial relationship. And what we're trying to reorient with the national security strategy is that so allies and partners have a very strong military relationship with the United States, but they also have a very strong economic, financial, and trade relationship. And that requires us to go and have a bilateral discussion with each of those. And that's something that the State Department has been doing ever since the new administration got in office, really getting them to understand how their relationships with the Chinese, and in the case of Europe with the Iranians, is undermining our collective security relationship. And so there's a need to realign our economic, financial, and trade relationships to be aligned with our military relationships. And for those countries, those allies and partners that choose not to do that, then we're going to have to cut them loose.
Let me ask you this, and then I want to get more into the book about China. But what about sanctions? Are the sanctions that we have imposed on Iran and that area, are they working? Are they feasible? Are they a good thing? Or is there a better way?
Well, they're not extensive enough in that the Chinese ought to be sanctioned, their banks and their businesses that are supporting China. That's what's behind the Meng Wanzhou indictment in Canada. Essentially Huawei and ZTE have both been selling equipment to the Iranians. The Chinese companies and banks are supporting them, and to that date we haven't sanctioned them. It's time to sanction them and make them pay a price for all the mischief and chaos that the Iranians are causing in the Middle East.
I got to ask you, the book title, Stealth War, How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. Right there, those words. What caused us, as the strongest country in the world, to be so lackadaisical and so unseeing as to what was happening with China? Why did we ignore all this?
Well, I think in the beginning we believed that, if we just opened up our markets, that would lead to the growth of China's economy, and as their economy grew, that they would democratize. And clearly, China saw that was happening. The Communist Party saw that was happening during the Tiananmen Square protests. They crushed the protests, and they basically turned around and re-engineered globalization and the Internet to support their growth without democratization. And what they've done since is not only undermine our economy, but they've been slowly undermining our democracy to the point where they're forcefully pushing on our corporate sector and other sectors, academia, politics, Wall Street, to also suppress the kind of speech that the Chinese Communist Party doesn't like. For instance, they don't want us talking about Tibet. There was a man, I think I may have mentioned, that was fired from Marriott Corporation for liking a tweet about Tibet. That was pressure put on by the Chinese Communist Party. So not only are they wrecking our economy by destroying our industrial base, they're also forcing people to only say the things that they're okay that they can say.
General, let me ask you this. You made the comment that people failed to protect our United States interests. Was it failure to protect, or were there, in many cases, money to buy them off and just basically turn a blind eye and a deaf ear?
Well, that's the case, and it's really, we're not talking about treason here, because these people actually believed that they were doing good for the country, and quite frankly, it went along with our foreign policy. But the truth of the matter is, whether you're on the right or whether you're on the left, people made billions of dollars doing business with the Chinese, and they were more than happy to look the other way as they stole intellectual property or basically moved our industrial base over to China, and so they profited from it, and it's time that ends.
Let me ask you, in your book, there was one part that really raised my eyebrows. We have enough trouble in our universities and colleges with the left-wing thinking today, but talk a little bit about the Confucius Institutes that are being moved into our universities here in this country. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, the Confucius Institutes actually serve many purposes. One purpose is to suppress speech, and so they don't practice academic freedom. In fact, they practice teaching a view of the world that the Chinese Communist Party supports, and they use the students to either protest against teachers or other American students that might speak out about Tibet or Taiwan or Hong Kong, if you will. The other thing they do, because we have 500,000 students in our university system, the embassy or consulate can call up the university president and threaten to pull all students out of the university. And oftentimes this will cause the university to go into the red because all these students are paying full tuition. So they've really created the ability to do suppression of speech, but also to use the Confucius Institutes to ensure that the Communist Party has insight into everything that the Chinese students are doing so that they can monitor and control their behavior to make sure they don't become too Americanized. And finally, the Confucius Institutes really are an avenue for the students to get together, and the students themselves can be used by the Communist Party to take intellectual property or technology back to China.
One thing that is mentioned in your book, and when I saw this on the information sheet having you on the program this morning, it really made me sit back and wonder why in the world we're doing such things, is that there is a signing of a 30-year agreement with the United States that allows China to share peaceful nuclear technology, ensuring that they have access to American nuclear know-how. I don't like this. Explain it, please.
Well, I didn't like it either, and that's when I was at the Pentagon, and we got a request from the National Security Council that was then during the Obama administration to renew this 30-year agreement, and of course, I disagreed with it. We had many meetings about it. Essentially, I was overruled, but it is taking technology that we have developed here in this country over, and it's really for civilian nuclear reactors. But a lot of those engineers that work on civilian nuclear reactors also work on naval nuclear reactors that we use for propulsion in subs and aircraft carriers. And so the idea is that you would get know-how from these civil nuclear, understanding how to troubleshoot civil nuclear reactors that could be applied to work on military nuclear reactors. And so it was very much against this, of course, overruled, essentially the agreement was renewed. It is part and parcel to everything that we've done as a nation to essentially give the Chinese Communist Party all the means they need to essentially challenge us and eventually be dominant in the world if we don't wake up.
Have we gone too far? In other words, have they, the Chinese, have they pushed us with our boot heels over the edge of the Grand Canyon and ready to push us into the abyss, or is there still a chance and opportunity that we can push back and regain a lot of our information and technology for the future?
Yeah, it hasn't gone too far yet. In fact, I felt in 2016, if we didn't have a change there where we stopped basically giving in to them so much, that we would be in really dire straits. I think we've made a change. This administration is forcing the Chinese to be on their back heels. But we need to invest in the country. We need to invest in our industrial base, our infrastructure, our STEM education, research and development. If we can do that, then we can get back to growing the economy, putting Americans back to work, and really being a technological superpower like we were during the Cold War.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a quick question. I'm almost out of time. Caller, go ahead, please.
In recent history, what president was the most destructive to America and helpful to the Chinese? Was it Clinton? I'll hang up.
Go ahead, General, please.
Yeah, I both Bush presidents, Clinton and Obama, were essentially all equivalent in terms of their policy. So both sides of the aisle have been complicit here.
We've talked about your book in the past when you were here the last time, Stealth War, How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. At the end of the book, last page, and they close the cover, what do you hope people that read the book will understand and remember?
I want them to understand that when you hear the word China, when you're talking about the bad kinds of things, the destruction of our industrial base, the impoverishing of our people, that we're talking about the Chinese Communist Party, not the people themselves. And the Chinese Communist Party is as evil a regime as ever has stood on the face of this earth. And if you can understand that we have all the resources and the energy and innovation as a people that we need to really turn this around, that we just need to get to work and we need to begin to invest in ourselves, that I think you'll come away with the idea that America's best decades are ahead of us.
Absolutely. Please tell my audience, Stealth War, written by Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding. Where can they find the book and where can they buy the book?
Anywhere books are sold, and if you pre-order, it'll be delivered to your door on 1 October.
General, I hope that you will not be offended if I say one last parting comment, but I need to say this to you. United States Air Force retired. Boise State beat Air Force last week. I just thought I'd throw that out.
That's all right. I went to Fresno State.
Okay. General, I appreciate it. Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding, please come back in the future. I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
God bless. Thank you. Very interesting man and a great book, Stealth War, How China Took Over While America's Elite Slept. Very, very good book. Nice man. Brigadier General Robert S. Spalding. Weather. Holy moly, we got to get the weather on here. I can see that the wind is kicking up a little bit. I can see it out my studio window right now. And the weather is being brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. That's a long time. And really professional people. Yep, the best of tax return preparation and tax planning and business consulting and retirement planning. They are really great in working for you, your family, and your business. So please get a hold of them today. Locations at 1710 Overland in Burley and 620 5th Street in Rupert. The best. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's Here's a look at your weather forecast for this beautiful Tuesday, and honestly, it's not going to be too bad. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit breezy. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, and we could see gusts as high as 33 miles an hour. High of 72 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 47. That breeze is still going to continue out of the west. By Wednesday, sunny skies with a high of 71. By Wednesday night, mostly clear skies. Going to be cooling off to about 44. Thursday, sunny and 73. Maybe by Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the afternoon and a high of 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina. Thank you very much. And, of course, the weather is brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. You know, they can help people that are starting a business or a corporation, or maybe you want to expand your business, hire more employees. You know, all of this and so much more. Please work with the professionals. And again, they've got two offices serving you, 1710 Overland in Burley and 620 Fifth Street in Rupert. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. You get a hold of them today. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to visit with you and get you on the program. Real quick, before I take your next call, give me a call, quick. We're going to have Lunch Bunch this Thursday at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. And I am urging you to wear red, white, or blue. We're really going to turn this into a patriotism and patriotic type lunch. So I would appreciate 11:30 starting time at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. And we're going to have a lot of gift certificates, thanks to my lovely bride of lining these up, and some other great folks, Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and Denny's. Thank you. Zeb's Lunch Bunch at Denny's this Thursday at 11:30. Please be there. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really don't understand how this guy gets away with saying what he did. If it were you or me, I think there'd be a knock on the door and there'd be men standing outside with black suits on and white shirts and ties. GOP primary challenger. This guy absolutely does not have all of his birds in the cage, I don't think. GOP primary challenger Bill Weld. He is a former Massachusetts governor. Came out and without any proof yet, or any finalization to the story yet about Ukraine and Biden and Trump and everything, he comes out and says that, here's his quote. Talk about pressuring a foreign country to interfere with and control of a U.S. election. It couldn't be clearer. Really? And that's not just undermining democratic institutions. Bill Weld went on to say that it's treason. It's treason, pure and simple. And the penalty for treason under the U.S. Code is death. That's the only penalty. He's talking about the killing of the United States President, President Trump. And he's talking about hearsay information. I want to reiterate those words. Hearsay information, second-party information that has not been validated, not been verified, and this nincompoop trying to make a name for himself as a GOP primary challenger to President Trump, Bill Weld, comes out and said, it's treason. Why, it's treason, pure and simple. And the penalty for treason is death. What are your thoughts on this? Can you imagine you or I or anybody coming out with this kind of garbage, and that's what it is garbage, and saying something like that? It's incredibly stupid. There's other words I could use, but not on the radio. This man is incredibly stupid. Let me know your thoughts. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget your friends, and they are your friends, at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. I mean, all you gotta do is just pick up the phone and give them a call, make an appointment, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this for you, your family, and your business. Please don't hesitate. Give them a call. 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Really good people. Let's see what else have we got cooking here. I mentioned that tomorrow at 9:30, and I really am appreciative that we finally got through to her people and then lined it all up, that tomorrow at 9:30 we're going to have a lady that's been on Fox News a lot, and she's got a brand new book that's out, and she's going to be talking about the troubles and travails of America and how we can fix them. And I'm talking about Judge Jeanine Pirro. That is one lady that when she gets on a talk show or whatever, you don't want to ruffle her feathers. And I'm going to get on there, and of course we both have the same vein of thinking, if you will, and it should be really, really interesting. I hope the phone connections, I really hope and pray the phone connections are good tomorrow morning for that segment at 9:30. Judge Jeanine Pirro on our program tomorrow. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Zeb, I'm calling back again, but, Fox News, since they were bought by Disney, they have, at leastways on the radio at the top of the hour, they don't say fair and objective anymore, and they're very left-leaning. And in fact, what was happening this weekend with Jonathan Roberts, the White House correspondent, and Maria Bartiromo, who seems to be right in there, and she seems smart. But they were attacking Rudy Giuliani on this Ukraine thing, and I was literally quite, shocked that Bartiromo would do that. So, I don't know if they're getting, some of these people own their programs, and some of them work for Fox News. And, when you own your program, you can be independent like you. And then the others are being guided behind the scenes, and it concerns me because, Fox News, that's all we got.
Well, I'm almost out of time, so let me jump in and say something here. Any time that there's a variation or an alteration of the truth, and you are hedging the truth just to basically get along with your employer or go along to get along and not make any waves, then it's absolutely a waste of time for people even to listen to that garbage. And if you're going to tell the truth and you're going to tell the story the way it is, that's the way it should be, regardless of the news organization. And anytime they get away from that, then they have problems.
They do, and it just, again, with all these media, monstrous, Google and others, and then, Fox, what media outlet is on Trump's side other than Fox?
Well, don't blame the entirety of a network for a couple of failings regarding certain programming. And I mean that. You've got to listen and you've got to discern for yourself, but it all goes back, and I'm out of time here, but I want to say this to you. It all goes back to self-study. People have got to become more aware on their own as to what the truth is, and not listen to blanket statements by these idiots that sometimes control the news at any network. Randy, I got to run. Thanks, buddy. All right. We're going to take a break. Dr. History coming up in about 7 minutes. All wheels over at the station. Crank it up just a little bit in my headset. For some reason this morning, we're not getting the best of sound with our guests, etc. Welcome back to hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a big, big, big fall tires sale right now. And stop in and see those great people today. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers. Burley Physical Therapy Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living, beautiful place, 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Well, I'll be darned. Look who stumbled into the studio. He was gone last week, but we had a very interesting young man, Lance Durrell from back in Missouri, talking about the Little Bighorn. Hello, Dr. History.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you?
Great. I just went up to Coeur d'Alene to see my daughter, and, anytime I travel through that Montana
If you go to
area,
see all your kids and grandkids, you ain't never going to be on this program.
It's true. But, when I travel through Montana, I always picture Chief Joseph and the Nez Perce Indians. I just can't help but look across those hills and see them, riding across the hills.
I just saw, and maybe you saw it on TV, I'm trying to think of the name of the program. It was on America by Horseback.
Oh, okay.
And it was on RFD TV. And they had ridden the Chief Joseph Trail.
Yeah, I know they do.
It was really interesting to watch that.
Yeah, I know there are groups that will do trail rides like Lewis and Clark, the Nez Perce. Anyway, so
what are we going to talk about today?
We are going to go to a good old stage robber. How's that?
Your nephew?
No.
Oh.
So here's the deal, Zeb. It was pretty rare that we call them road agents or robbers, bandits, whatever.
Some of them were pretty dumb.
They were. But, hey, this one has a different approach I'm going to tell you about.
Right.
Anyway, it was kind of rare for anybody to single-handedly rob a stage, but William, quote, Brazelton, near Tucson, Arizona Territory in 1878. He escaped the lawmen by a variety of pretty ingenious methods, but when it came time to surrender or die, he was shot full of holes before he could get off a shot, and for decades afterward, Tucson's superstitious citizens saw Brazen Bill's ghost haunting the road near where he was killed.
No kidding.
Brazelton got his start as an Arizona criminal at Prescott the previous year. Now, let me just tell you about Prescott. This was a kind of a picturesque location, kind of nice, neatly painted houses with white picket fences.
Up on top of the mountain.
No. Well, I don't know. It's in Prescott.
No, Prescott's a beautiful town.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been there many times.
The homes were furnished with furniture, carpets, mirrors, rocking chairs, table lamps. Just a nice, cozy little village-type town.
Yeah.
So it was to the dainty American town of Prescott that William Whitney Brazelton came in mid-1876 and announced that he would put on a show for the entertainment-starved people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a majority of the residents of Prescott were waiting for this and just hoping for something to happen. Well, Brazelton had come into Arizona as the proprietor of a remarkable traveling show.
You sure got a lot of words with P's started.
I know. It's coming. He advertised that his troupe would perform in Prescott, and what surprised most residents was his announcement that during their performance he would swallow a wagon wheel. Okay,
now
wouldn't that get your interest?
Mr. Brazelton would swallow. That's a big wheel.
Yeah, well, he's a big guy.
Oh.
So here it is. On the date of the event, the house was filled beyond capacity with residents. They were intent on seeing this amazing event, something so wondrous it had never been before seen or heard of, and the thought of a man swallowing a wagon wheel kind of captured the imagination. And Brazelton, he was slightly over 6 feet tall, weighed over 200 pounds. He was a pretty good-sized man by 19th century standards, and if any man in the Arizona Territory could do it, Brazelton assured them he was the man. Okay, he collected money at the gate, then announced that his troupe had just arrived.
I see.
Seeing how anxious the crowd had become, Brazelton said he would excuse himself to hurry along the rest of the troupe, announcing that the show must proceed.
Uh-huh.
Now, how long the people waited before they realized that they had been duped is not recorded, but they never saw Brazelton again in Prescott. No person had lost more than the price of a ticket, so everyone had a good laugh and went about their business. And with characteristic Western humor, this Brazen Bill became known as the man who swallowed a wagon wheel.
Wait a minute.
And didn't.
This guy is quite a con man.
He is. He
gets these people from the West, this town of Prescott, to
they're
come
starving
in.
for hunger.
starving for entertainment, and he charges them to sit down and wait while he's going to eat a wagon wheel.
Right, and then he's on his horse and about 3 or 4 miles out of
with
town.
the money.
With the money, of course, sure. Anyway, Brazelton made his way south to Tucson, where he took a job in the stables and corrals, which, though well below his capabilities, had certain advantages. It was not a particularly desirable occupation, so he could leave whenever he wanted, stay away for a week, and return to find his job. So he was actually just mucking out stalls.
Really?
Okay. So, but this gave him the opportunity to begin his career robbing stages.
Oh, my goodness.
So he created a costume and devised...
See, there's opportunities at starting at the bottom.
Well, sure, and he was at the bottom. But he devised a peculiar method of operation that he started out and tried the very first time on September 27th in 1877. So, it's 6 o'clock at night.
That's coming up in 2 days, 3 days.
6 o'clock at night, there's a stout-built road agent stopped the coach from Prescott. The lone robber, highwayman, was dressed in old worker's clothes, his pants tucked into his boots. A stable hand might look like this, and he wore a mask of black gauze.
Ugh.
He was armed with a shotgun, but also held a revolver. He ordered the driver to get off and hold the horse leaders by the bits, and then ordered passengers out, a guy by the name of Gus Ellis, another guy named Dan Thorne, to get out of the wagon. He smashed open the treasure box, slid open the mailbags, got all the valuables, then ordered everyone back into the stage and told them to get the heck a-going.
Get the heck.
Get the heck a-going, yes. I'm sure that was his word.
Positive.
And in this stagecoach robbery, Brazelton took $600 from a registered package, a package of gold dust and bars valued at $1,300, and another $470 in currency, and a letter worth $100, and other items worth about $150. So he made a really good haul here, over $2,000, $2,500, something like that. So anyway, the robber next appeared in New Mexico, where he stopped several coaches. The last one was near Silver City, and this was in 1878. A civilian going by the name of Colonel Willard, and there goes my phone.
Yeah, there goes your... welcome to the world of technology.
Yes.
You just broke the aura of all we were learning about stage robberies.
Okay, let's go back. Now we're in New Mexico. Okay. He's got a stagecoach stopped. It's 1878, and in the stage is Colonel Willard and Lieutenant Frank West were on the coach. The robbery was committed at night, and the report stated that he had a pistol strapped to his gun. So somehow he had his rifle.
Wait a minute. He had his rifle and a pistol strapped to it.
And the pistol was somehow tied onto the rifle, so he had two guns pointing in the same direction.
Yeah.
Anyway, he made off with 3 bars of bullion. The last he would not take when he discovered how heavy it was, and also it's pretty impossible to convert it into currency without raising some suspicion.
Yeah.
Anyway, the peculiar method of operation had Brazelton's mark on it, and the only change was that he had replaced the flimsy black gauze with a more durable mask with eye holes cut and a red mouth sewn on it.
Why?
I don't know.
You're the history man.
A red mouth sewn on this. I guess he wanted to make a point.
I have a question quickly, though. I have a quick question. Now, he did the first robbery in Prescott, Arizona.
Right.
Then he did the second one in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Did the law, hear about what he had done in Prescott?
I think over time it became, they started to tie it into with him.
Oh.
So, but anyway, he would kind of change his appearance enough to make witnesses kind of not really sure how to describe him. Sometimes he seemed taller, sometimes he still looked shorter, sometimes heavier. So he was kind of smart that way, but he got tired of the long trips to find new stagecoach to rob. So Brazelton realized that there was enough treasure coaches near home to satisfy what he needed. So he was determined to find a place near Tucson and recruit assistance in keeping his horse, getting supplies. So he chose the ranch of a young man by the name of David Nimitz.
Should I remember that?
Yes, because he's going to come into play a little later.
I see.
So this guy has a ranch. So the young man, he was well thought of as an honest guy. He would later relate how he unwillingly became kind of an accessory to these robberies. Okay. Now, Brazelton called on Nimitz one day and just asked a couple of questions and then left. But he returned the next day and he asked for a confidential conversation with Nimitz.
All
right. So the first day, Nemitz, he said, I saw before me a former fellow laborer in the corral. They had actually worked together in the corrals.
They were stall cleaners.
Yeah, stall buddies, yeah. So they kind of knew each other. So Brazelton, he said, he told me all about his robberies. I was then in the power of a man who placed little value on his own or anyone's life, and I felt obliged to obey the robber's commands. So now he is an unwilling accomplice.
Okay.
So Brazelton didn't waste any time. On August 2nd, the Arizona Citizen wrote of a bold stage robbery by a lone highwayman north of Tucson. And here's what it said in the newspaper. This editor has frequently read of the daring deeds of fierce highwaymen, and several times within the last 6 months it has been necessary for us to describe the bold operations of these desperadoes, but never until day before yesterday have we had the good fortune to witness the modus operandi by which these members of the shotgun gentry extract the valuables from a stagecoach and passengers by the simple but magical persuasive power of cold lead.
That's all one sentence? My English teacher would have ate him up and spit him out.
Hey, but you know, that's where they talked. That's
yeah,
the
but
way,
I mean, that was going on forever.
It was.
That was Tolstoy's War and Peace.
There wasn't a comma or a period.
I admire you. You did that in one breath.
I did. So, the stagecoach left Tucson on Wednesday at the usual hour of 2 p.m. Arthur Hill was driving, and a guy named J.P. Klum, one Chinese man, and a veterinary surgeon named Wheatley were the only passengers. When they reached the ranch at Point of the Mountain, 18 miles northwest of Tucson, okay, by now it's 5 o'clock in the evening, there's a light rain falling. 10 minutes later, the stagecoach struck the wet sand at a place called the Point of the Mountain, and the horses started to slow down to a walk. Suddenly, someone leaped from behind a bush and, in their rather harsh tones, yelled to the driver to stop the coach. A tall form in a mask that appeared at the left side of the coach. He was covering everyone with a Spencer rifle and a six-shooter. I told you he had two guns.
Yeah.
So he commanded them to remain where they were. Now, Klum, one of the guys that was on there, he had a pistol, but it was on the floor of the coach, so he couldn't get it. Wheatley, the other guy, also had a pistol, but it was underneath the blanket. It wasn't close, it wasn't handy. So the attack was in open daylight and had been so unexpected that the passengers were totally unprepared. And once under the cover of the robber's arms, everyone was quite willing to do whatever he said. Now, the road agent ordered the passengers out, and after the collection had been taken, he ordered the driver Hill to drive on, and he obeyed. And just as the coach started, the robber extended a very polite invitation to the men. He said to just come back on any time as soon as they felt like they wanted to.
Really?
Yeah, he just said, if you want to come on back, you just help yourself.
Well, there was some cordiality there.
There was. Now, the express box had been empty. There was nothing of great value. So Brazelton only got like $37 out of this.
Oh, my goodness.
But his booty was so small that it was supposed that he would soon find necessary to hit up another stage and passengers.
Yeah.
So, he's not just going to wait around. So, Tucson's Citizen newspaper described the robber. Here's what it said. So near as we remember, the man who robbed the stage on Wednesday afternoon was about 6 feet high and well built. He had his pants in his boots and wore small brass spurs, such as are used by the Army. His face was covered with a black Muslim mask, having opening for his eyes only. His weapons were a Spencer carbine and a Colt's Army six-shooter. When making the attack, he held his gun to his shoulder all the time, and his pistol, leveled in the fingers of the left hand, closed close to the gun barrel and parallel with it, which gave the appearance of being fastened to the carbine. So it just sounds like he somehow tied the pistol to the rifle.
Yeah.
Now, for whatever reason.
Why?
I don't know. I guess he figured he needed it. But
okay.
So anyway, the editor
became part of his modus operandi.
Yes. So the editor had been correct, predicting that the road agent would strike again. And on Thursday, August 14th, the same lone highwayman stopped another stagecoach, and the newspaper, The Citizen, reported under the headline, "Here we go again."
Uh-oh.
and that the stagecoach left Tucson with 2 passengers, and with Arthur Hill driving, John Miller, one of the passengers, was sitting next to him, and as they neared Point of the Mountain, he asked the driver to show him just the place where the coach had been robbed a few days earlier.
He didn't do it again, did he?
Hill replied that it was only a short distance ahead, and he would point out the spot where they had robbed. You see this coming.
Yeah.
There, said Hill, the robber was behind that bush. And Miller said, and there he is again.
You gotta be kidding me.
So
you couldn't write this.
I know. There he is again, shouted the driver with the same breath as the same masked robber sprang from behind the same bush and pranced about before the horses, shouting, yes, here I am again. Throw up your hands.
You gotta be kidding me.
Well, if it worked once, they would never expect it to be the same place.
No.
Anyway, the mail sacks and express box were thrown out as ordered, and the man on the inside lost $8. Miller was obliged to give up his pocket book, $226. Anyway, now, the strangest bit of evidence from these robberies was that the tracks of 2 horses were at the scene of the crime, but no tracks left from there. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Finally, there was a tracker named Juan Elias. He determined that he would solve the mystery. Now, it happened on his second occasion that the robber's horse threw a shoe, creating the odd impression of an animal with 3 hoofs that were shod traveling in one direction and the 4th unshod hoof in the opposite direction. Okay, follow me here, Zeb. Ready? Elias backtracked the hoof prints to their source and found the robber's horse in the corral of David Nimitz, the young man.
I remember him.
On examination, Elias found that the robber had developed a way to turn the horseshoes around. The shoes had been made especially for this purpose. He had the horseshoes backwards.
He put the shoes on the horse backwards.
But because he lost a shoe on one.
So the one barefoot
is heading one direction.
Was going the right way.
The other 3 were going the other direction. I thought that was pretty ingenious, Zeb. Anyway, so this guy, Elias, he reported discovered to the sheriff. So Nimitz, the young man, was arrested as an accessory. Bail was set at $2,500. Nimitz said he would tell all if he could be protected from this dangerous man. He was still afraid.
Oh.
And then said that he allowed Brazelton to keep his horse in his corral and provide food and water. Anyway, he warned the sheriff that this man would not be taken alive. Nimitz had disclosed that Brazelton was leaving that night to commit another stagecoach robbery and would be weighed down with arms and one thing and another.
Yeah.
So the county sheriff named Chabelle and his posse. The plan was for the posse members to assemble near the mesquite log where Brazelton was to meet Nimitz, who was to provide the robber with supplies for the next day's work. When Brazelton arrived at the log, he had upon his person 2 belts filled with cartridges, 2 6-shooters, and a Spencer rifle. He approached the log just kind of cautiously, moving slowly. He gave the signal. The signal was a cough. A cough.
Do that again.
No. That wasn't a very good cough.
That was a puny cough.
It was a cough.
You're not going to rob a stage with a cough like that.
So the signal was given, the cough, which was returned by a posse member. All right?
Oh.
He then placed his hat on the log to signal Nimitz to come to him. Okay, that was the signal. Now, something alarmed Brazelton, and he leaned over the log as if to look on the other side. One of the posse members was hiding there.
Oh.
The silence was broken by the blast from a shotgun. Pistol shots followed immediately, and Brazelton explained, "You son of a gun."
Yeah, I bet that's what he said.
As he fell.
Yeah.
He lay in the darkness, and the posse heard him say, quote, "I die brave. I'll pray till I die." That was his last words.
That was his last words. Oh, my goodness.
Anyway,
yeah.
so the
and those were direct quotes. You didn't change any words whatsoever.
No, I never do that.
Yes, sir.
So the posse remained silent. They surrounded the lone prone figure. They counted 10 holes in Brazelton's chest.
Do you think they got him?
I think they got him. The sheriff searched the body and discovered the hood, and some of the loot. So there's no question. But now Brazelton's body was then taken into Tucson, and they tied him tied him upright in a chair.
Yeah.
And which they did, a lot of times they laid him out.
Put him on display.
Yeah, and displayed at the courthouse. He was then photographed and buried the following afternoon.
What about Nimitz?
I think they let him go. It doesn't really tell us much.
They named an aircraft carrier after him.
No, this is Nimitz,
Oh.
not Nimitz. Close.
Okay.
Anyway, Brazelton was described in the Prescott Enterprise newspaper as, quote, the most successful single-handed highwayman robber of modern times.
Boy, did he meet his demise.
He did 10
Yeah.
shots, yeah.
10 shots.
I don't think he lasted long, but as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people, particularly in that area, the older people, they will never go past a place after dark when any tragedy has ever been committed. So there's a place not far from Tucson where it said that they will not pass after dark. The spot where the highwayman met a tragic death was avoided after nightfall, and even now some of the old-timers will not go past the place in the dark, and they will tell stories of how a phantom highwayman is seen standing in the road just as Brazelton was halted on the night of his death.
I bet you Halloween really is scary.
But that, wouldn't it be fun to dress up like him?
Oh, yeah, and then get shot 10 times.
Yeah, that'd probably be a shot. Yeah.
Wow, I'd never heard that story before.
I just thought it was interesting that he thought enough to turn the horseshoes backwards.
It sounds to me like he was better off in his first profession, which was mucking out stalls.
I think more successful.
Might have got stabbed with a pitchfork, but that would have been better than a shotgun and all the pistol shots.
Yeah, but, I thought...
Does it amaze you? Have you ever shot some of those old-time guns?
I've never shot a black powder. I've never shot one of those.
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
And it amazes me, especially with the pistols, the 44s and the 45s, how they could hit anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you really got to watch your P's and Q's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of times, and when they did have gunfights, if you weren't close, like 20 feet.
Oh, I was going to say like
10,
2.
Yeah, you probably would miss.
Yeah, really. I mean, the days of like when Matt Dillon walked out on the streets of Dodge City and they're quite a ways apart, I never could understand why the guy that shot first didn't hit him.
Well, it never did.
Yeah.
Never.
On all the openings of those shows, you always expect a little change.
Yeah.
But Matt Dillon shot last and won.
And, I've told stories about like Annie Oakley and some of those that were amazing.
Amazing shots.
Yeah.
Are you a pretty good shot?
I'm okay with a rifle, but you put me with a shotgun trying to shoot clay pigeons.
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
I am too. Listen, that was a good story, and I appreciate your coming by.
You bet.
It's good to have you back for a change instead of being the world leader and being gone.
I know.
Okay. God bless you, man.
Thanks.
Dr. History. Nobody does it better than Dr. History. We're going to take a little break, send it back over to Wheels. I'll be back with our next guest in just about 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm honored every day on this program to have the best of sponsors and advertisers. And I want to talk to you about some folks that really, really have built an outstanding business. It's called Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. And I always put this tagline on it that seniors living the good life with friends. And that's oh so true. And they also provide temporary stays for seniors. So in other words, if you're the caregiver and you need to be gone for a few days or a couple of weeks, call Matt and Kelly Wiggins at Greystone Crossing and make arrangements for your loved one to come to their home environment and stay for a short period of time. Wonderful, wonderful facilities. I mean, I've been there. I've seen it. It's outstanding. I urge you to call Matt and Kelly Wiggins at 208-650-4979. They're very happy to visit with you about your needs at Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. I'm excited to have this man on the air. He's been on this program numerous times in the past, and he's the author of the new book, Your Faith Has Made You Well, a radical new way to create peace and hope. I'm anxious to find out about that. Good morning, Dr. Bruce Hartman. How are you?
Good morning.
how are you? And thanks for having me back again.
Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And before I get into the weeds a little bit, if you will, tell me a little bit about your new book, Your Faith Has Made You Well. Tell me about it.
Well, it's a takeoff out of the Gospels, the four Gospels. 8 times Jesus says in the Gospel, "Arise, daughter," or something similar. Your faith has made you well.
Yes.
What I did was I explored that theologically, and did a lot of research on why would that be said 8 times. Why is Jesus saying our faith helps heal us? So one of the things that I did is I also interviewed a lot of people to find out how they personally were involved in their faith healing. And it was remarkable how connected our prayers, leading a good life, are consistent and connected with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Absolutely. Dr. Hartman, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. I'm going to ask you to speak up a little bit. And Wheels, I'm going to ask you as the engineer to ride that gain a little bit and give more volume to Dr. Hartman. Pardon my interruption. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Can you hear me well now?
Yes, a little better, yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So the book is, as I said, it's a takeoff on Jesus' phrase, "Your faith has made you well," and he said it 8 times in the Gospels. And what I did was I took each one of those 8 times and created a story that's directly from the Bible and connected it to people that I knew in their lives that had a similar experience where they prayed and had a very connected life with Jesus and actually had physical/spiritual healing. And that's really the purpose of the book, is to guide people through their faith, through their prayers, and how other people have been connected with our Lord and Savior.
It sounds like a very intriguing book, and I must get a copy of it and read it. What's the main gist of the story at the end, or the stories, I should say, in a plurality sense? What do you want people to take away, and what are you trying to achieve by writing this book?
Well, one, I thought, it's something that we don't discuss a lot in church or amongst ourselves, this "your faith has made you well." And what I'm trying to do is explore the importance of having a great relationship with Jesus and how important that is in your life. When Jesus says your faith has made you well, that's always said to a person that has established a strong faith and created a very deep connection with Jesus. And that's really the outtake, is how to do that, how other people have done that, and the value it is in your faith life by having a very connected relationship with our Lord and Savior.
Absolutely. Dr. Hartman, at this juncture, I've got to jump in and say, I'm really, really worried as a Christian that our nation is turning its back and shunning the beliefs and the morality this country was built upon. What are your thoughts? Do you think I'm wrong, or what?
I think for this time and day, you're 100% correct. I'm not worried about it because, Jesus always comes out on top. And I think we all have seen that example. But right now, as it feels to us, Christian values have been pushed aside. You can't bring your Bible to school. You can't bring your Bible to work, so forth and so on. And we're seeing it with Purdue Pharma. I mean, the Purdue Pharma scandal is right now, for them personally, their shareholders cost them $12 billion. It's costing our country $78 billion a year, and 50,000 people are losing their lives because of the drugs they produce. Now, there is a place that needed Jesus. There is an HR department that should not have pushed Christian values away and allowed them to exist. And I would say if they followed those values, we would not have this scandal that we have right now going on with Purdue Pharma.
Well, I would also interject at this point of the conversation that we are seeing so much of the liberalism take over our lifestyle or be promoted to our kids in school, our churches, everywhere, that it's no longer religion with belief in God and His Son, Jesus Christ. It's religion in things like climate change. And this really worries me.
Well, you should be worried, but continue to have faith. You know, sometimes people have to wear themselves out, or sometimes evil has to wear itself out for the good to start to show up. So that's why I know that these things, you know, they swing back and forth. Jesus always comes out on top. I'm always confident in that. I always have faith in that. But you are right. Liberalism right now is the evil that we see in our community.
You know, the scoffing at religion, the scoffing at God, if you will, that we see and hear almost every day on the newscasts. And we have one particular political party that at their convention a couple of years ago just basically denied God. And now we've got NBC News that says to Americans that we should all get on bended knee and confess our climate change sins. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, it's really ignoring, you know, what's important. You know, I always hear we got to get rid of carbon dioxide. Well, if we get rid of carbon dioxide, how are the plants going to breathe? The same plants that produce oxygen. So, to me, this whole climate thing's a bit of a ruse, and it's taking advantage of a situation. You know, it is God's creation, it is God's world, and we should take care of it. I'm not saying that, but I think they've made it a bigger issue than it really is to distract people from what the real issues are.
I think you would concur with me, Dr. Hartman, that the Bible, from the very first page of Genesis, there are many, many references where God's given us all these wonderful things in this life to use, not abuse. And this is where the left goes off the rails as far as I'm concerned. They don't want us to eat meat. They don't want us to do certain things that we need for the betterment of our families. And it's absolutely, to me, anti-biblical.
Well, it is. I mean, we have domain over God's creation that was given to us in the garden. We don't have the domain to abuse what was given to us. It's like any Christmas present. If you don't treat it well, you're not going to have it anymore. But this moving away from where creation is more important than humankind is definitely not biblical, and you're 100% right there.
Let me ask you this. How are we going to re-implement or reinstill a want of the younger generation to want to go to church, to want to bring their families back into the threshold of congregate membership, of whatever the denomination, to go back and celebrate on Sundays God and the moral values of our country? How are we going to do that?
Well, I think two things. One is we have to invite them to participate in church. When they come in and they're troubled, don't just say, we'll pray for you. Have them actively be involved in church. Don't send them off to their own separate room. Have them be part of the congregation. It isn't enough just to pray for them, but we also have to make sure that they get to participate. I always hear this expression, you know, the youth are our future. No, they're now. You know, if we keep waiting for them to join because they're in the future, they're never going to join. So number one, I think churches should be more inclusive with including youth in service, in the readings. There's nothing wrong with having a teenager do a Bible reading. One, they'll understand it's sacred, but it will start to help create that connection. Second thing I want to let you know, I'm starting to see statistics that tell me that campus ministries are growing. So this is not something that's being reported, but we're starting to see it and we're starting to hear about it. The compelling force of God is in all people. And what we have to do is fight against liberalism, which wants to stamp that compelling force out.
Let me ask you this question. I'm not trying to turn this conversation into anything at all politics, but I will say that yesterday I thought President Trump delivered a very good speech regarding religious freedoms around the world. And for a man that has been criticized, quite frankly and openly, that he's not the best person or character to be the president, he, to me, has done a lot more for religious freedom. Are you in agreement or not?
100%, maybe 1,000%. You know, he's one of the reasons why he gets attacked is because people know that he has a strong position on religious freedom, and he understands that's what his constituency is looking for. You know, a lot of people wonder why the evangelical Christian supports Trump, and the reason why is because Trump supports religious freedom. And some of these attacks, let's put it this way, if Donald Trump cured cancer tomorrow, CNN would still write a story that was negative about why and how he did it.
I totally agree with you, but here is a man that seems to be almost like a man on a deserted island with sharks swimming around the beach. There doesn't seem to be a lot of people jumping into the fray and standing with him.
Oh, no, you're 100% right, but I will tell you where it does exist. If you get a chance, go to Twitter and read the bios of the people that follow Trump, and you will become very encouraged. These are the silent, exhausted majority that are tired of seeing all this political maneuvering. They know what's going on, but you'll see Christianity associated with Make America Great Again, and a lot of it is coming not just from evangelical Christians. It's coming from Catholics, mainline Protestantism. He has a tremendous support base with a Christian base.
You know, with the rise in the interest of trying to move this country into a socialistic nation, I really get worried, Dr. Hartman, with the lack of education and, quite frankly, bottom line, the ignorance and stupidity of people that don't understand that with socialism and or / communism, you're seeing a total demise of the belief in God, and I don't want to see that grow anymore in this country. Your thoughts?
No, you're exactly right. When I push back on my liberal friends about this next question, I can never get an answer. But name me one socialist country, whether it's Russia, China, or any of these dictatorships, that have actually done more for their people before than they did after than they did before. Almost always, people's rights are diminished, the standard of living is diminished, and the state starts dictating bizarre things. And that's where liberalism will lead you. And there isn't one liberal person that can cite to you a government or a country that has been successful with socialism.
Are you surprised, as a writer, an author, and a theologian, are you surprised as to the acceptance in this country of the Elizabeth Warrens, the Bernie Sanders, the Joe Bidens, the Kamala Harrises? I'm really shocked that they have the numbers they have. What are your thoughts?
Well, there's not a lot to choose from, Zed. They don't really have a responsible candidate. You've got Bernie Sanders, when you ask him a question, he throws his arms up in the air, talks loudly, like that is going to create the solution. So you have that on one side. Elizabeth Warren, she went to college on a phony credential. She said she was a Native American. In fact, she's less Native American than you and I are. Yet nobody seems to be, holding her accountable for that. That Joe Biden, I think he should have better numbers than the two of them because he's a more responsible politician than those two are. So, that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't think Joe Biden's the ideal candidate, but he's certainly better. He's the lesser of two evils, I guess, or three evils. And Kamala Harris has folded. I don't know if you've seen her numbers, but they're not very strong.
Absolutely. The book, Your Faith Has Made You Well, A Radical New Way to Create Peace and Hope. Tell me about where they can get it and how they can obtain a copy, please.
Well, the good news is they can get it this very afternoon. It's available on Kindle through Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble through Nook. But it's available in most major bookstores, and certainly you can order a hard copy online.
You've written quite a few books, of course, the author of Jesus and Company, and now this one. What's next?
Well, it's actually hopefully coming out this fall, and it's called A Year with God. And essentially what it does is it takes the church calendar and breaks it up into the 52 weeks of the year and explains what each Sunday means. So, for instance, you have the 4 Sundays in Advent, you have the 6 Sundays of Lent, you have the 7 Sundays of the Pentecost. And so what I've done is taken stories about people and meditations and applied them to each one of those Sundays so that people can walk with God for a year. Our goal there is to have people at the end of the year closer to God, and that's the purpose of that book.
I'm looking forward to it. I want to say how much I appreciate having you on this program. Dr. Bruce Hartman, author of the new book, Your Faith Has Made You Well, A Radical New Way to Create Peace and Hope. I wish you the best. Sir, please come back in the future. Thank you.
Anytime, and bless you, Zed, and your ministry.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. A great guy to talk to, and I wish him a lot of success with his book, Your Faith Has Made You Well. Thank you very much. I know. Wheels is saying you're late. You got to get the weather forecast on, so I will. The weather this hour, you should see my papers on this desk. This is a disaster. I've been with all the newspaper clippings and all the stories that I wanted to relate to today. Finally, after going to the bottom of the pile, I found Scarrows Meats. Imagine that. Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, my goodness, with my good friend Don Scarrow and the rest of his staff. They are good. Absolutely. Go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, or give them a call at 324-7657. All the delicious meats. I mean, whether it's the different bacons or the sausages or the bratwurst or the tri-tips or whatever. I mean, it's all good. Don't forget Scarrows Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather forecast for this beautiful Tuesday, and honestly, it's not going to be too bad. Mostly sunny skies, a little bit breezy. Winds out of the west at about 15 miles an hour, and we could see gusts as high as 33 miles an hour. High of 72 tonight, nice and clear with a low of 47. That breeze is still going to continue out of the west. By Wednesday, sunny skies with a high of 71. By Wednesday night, mostly clear skies. Going to be cooling off to about 44 Thursday, sunny and 73. Maybe by Friday, slight chance of rain showers in the afternoon and a high of 66. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate it. And, of course, brought to everyone by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and his absolutely efficient staff serving you with the most delicious of meats. As a matter of fact, that's part of their tagline, changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time from Scarrows Meats. I have a few moments to have you give me a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Love to visit with you about any topic that we've talked about this morning. We've had some outstanding guests on the program this morning. I mean, holy smokes, Dan Kish and Brigadier General Robert Spaulding and Dr. History and Dr. Bruce Hartman. And tomorrow again at 9:30, we are expecting Judge Janine Pirro on our program at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Don't miss that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
That's what I needed to know, Zeb. I heard it earlier this morning. She was going to be on, and I didn't want to miss it. So.
Yeah,
9:30 Wednesday morning.
9:30 tomorrow morning. We're going to have her along with a host of other good guests, so don't you miss it, Earl. You get in out of the chores and turn on the radio.
Thanks, Zeb. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. God bless you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
You know, there's days when you get very depressed. Not you, but me in general, because I'm worried about where we are. And then there'll be a guest who's very logical and informed, educated, and like the big general talking about how we will still be in charge of high tech and everything else. We just have to regroup and start caring about America instead of, letting everybody else catch up. Because China, like he said, was the most evil thing on the face of the planet ever. And so, see, just because they smile at you doesn't mean anything. And so, we've kissed their behind since Nixon. And it's time these people would have us in chains, and they would take every natural resource we have and enslave our people if they could.
Yep.
And it's just, you hear good news. Two things. What Trump said at the United Nations, and then what the Brigadier General said, and there are good things happening, and you just hope our young children are taught or learn somehow so they know better.
Absolutely. Thanks, Randy. I appreciate your call back, and we're just going to keep on keeping on here with the best of guests that we can provide on this program. And while we have just a moment at the conclusion of our program, I want to remind you about our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, doing the right thing since 1952. Wow. I mean, they are the best. 7 locations right here in the Magic Valley, and they've got a big fall tire sale going on right now. You can save up to $152 on a set of 4 select light truck and SUV tires. Woo! You better get in there and check it out today. The very best of brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. Oh, you're going hunting for a couple days. Well, you better get your battery checked. And if you need a new one, they've got the best right there. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best with the best of service, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. We thank them. Tomorrow, going to be starting at 8:06. Ride the horse for 3 hours right here on KBAR 1230 AM, and then streaming live on the internet all over the world on zebbell.com. And lots of good people, including you. Call in. I'd appreciate it. Don't forget that. I want to say that we always say the same thing at the end of the program, the way things were are the way things ought to be, but the 4 most important words that we say, in God we trust. Thank you for your listenership. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. Wheels, take it away.